Today I'm going to show you what's inside of a Subaru all-wheel drive system and how it works. Now this 5-speed automatic transmission is out of that Subaru Outback, and as you can see it's shaped longitudinally where it'd be situated underneath the vehicle. Now at the front here you have your input shaft and of course the torque converter and the bell housing, and at the back here, just like any other rear wheel drive vehicle, you have your tail shaft, and that's where your drive shaft would plug into to power the rear wheels. However, what's unique is that there's a front differential integrated down underneath here, which will have the two axles to drive the front wheels. So in essence, this transmission is capable of driving all four wheels all the time. Now taking a look around here, you'll see that we've got the two vent tubes as well as some wiring, transmission dipstick and cooler lines. But what's interesting is the bell housing's got a split over here where this front half contains the gear fluid for the differential of the front, and the rear half contains the transmission fluid, so there's actually seal between those two. Now the passenger side's got a dipstick for the gear fluid, which is actually pretty rare, and it's got the gear selector for the automatic transmission. So I'm going to tear this transmission down just to see what makes Subaru's all-wheel drive system just so unique. I'm going to start by disconnecting this little piece of rust over here, holding this connector on, and the same for everything else. Let's pull out these vent tubes. Now I think I pulled this transmission without draining it, which is why I have a huge mess on my driveway. So we'll just let that drain. Now the gear oil for the differential is a separate drain over on this side. Now inside of here is where the all-wheel drive stuff happens. Got a bunch of 12mm bolts holding this tail shaft section on, so I'm just going to go ahead and remove everything I see. Alrighty, hopefully we don't make a mess. And now I can remove this tail shaft assembly. Whoa, this is cool. Alright, so looking inside of that casing, you could see that there's actually a set of clutches just floating around in there. This is the clutches for the all-wheel drive system. They are a little bit worn. This car had 300,000 kilometers on it. Now that clutch pack rides up against this planetary drive over here for the all-wheel drive system. That means that this is the output of the transmission. This one goes to the rear wheels, and then there's now a counter shaft over here, which will take it back to the front differential to power the front wheel. Pull off this output shaft here. See, it's got a sun gear on it, this planetary drive, and it's also got the inside spline of those clutches that we took off earlier. Just pop this out. Oh, nice long shaft there. And this is the planetary gear setup. It's responsible for the all-wheel drive system. If I take out this gasket here, you see there's a couple of channels here that would go to the all-wheel drive tail housing that controls that clutch, and this here is the counter shaft. Now, I know we're only here to find out how the all-wheel drive system works, but I want to take the rest of this thing apart to get a whole picture. That's the parking pole mechanism. Take a closer look as I shift it into park here. Boom, now it's in park. Now if the parking pole mechanism is properly engaged, you can see that this counter shaft isn't going to move at all. If I shift out of park, watch this move. Once that relaxes, then you can move again. Next up, we got to work on the valve body on the bottom, so wish me luck. I'm going to turn this on the side and hope that no fluid drips out. And this was a very rusty car, so I'm going to hope and pray I can get all these 10mm bolts off of the transmission pan. Oh, there's mess. Oh, my brother's t-shirt over here. These are nice and absorbent. This pan looks like it's been resealed. It's got that red RTV on it. Actually looks to be in good shape. Inside of here you can see things are pretty clean. This is actually the valve body, which is the brains of the unit that tells things to work, such as the clutches to change the gears and the all-wheel drive system. This here is actually the transmission filter, and its screen is absolutely clean. I'm going to go ahead and start removing some of the electrical connections from here. I'm going to go ahead and remove all the 10mm bolts that I see. Here's the filter. Pull out the valve body. Ooh, look at all the solenoids back there. And this thing that was hooked up to it is to determine the gear selection from park, reverse, neutral, and drive. I'll just pull the wire through here. You can see this big barrel that's inside of here actually houses all the planetary gear sets and clutches that you're going to need for your 5 speeds as well as the reverse. Over here is the shifter mechanism. Your park, reverse, neutral, and drive, and that rod that goes to the parking pole at the back. But the real reason why I pulled the valve body is to get access to these bolts here so we can get the front differential assembly off. Now a good tip when you have crusty bolts like this is to try to knock off some of the crust with your wife's little toothbrush. You make them nice and clean so you don't accidentally round them out. What's worse is just these three here are spline drive, which I don't have a socket for, so I'm going to try to hammer on a 12 point. Now let me see my luck. It moved. Yes! Alright, last one up at the top here. Yep, easy clap. Oh, we're losing light pretty quickly, and the sucky thing is, due to time savings, it's only 5 p.m. Please don't have any more spline bolts. Now the rest of the transmission's got a bunch of 14s that go around the top, but there's all this stuff in the way, so I'm going to have to remove that first. This little input shaft sensor here. Take that out. Whoa, that transmission dipstick went flying. There we go. See if I can crack it free with the breaker. I'm just going to try to get the bolts off. The next scene is going to be dark because you'll see I'll finish this bolt. This guy off this front differential. It's a nice, thick, beefy shaft. Now taking a look at the front half of this transmission, you can see this here is where the torque converter would hook up to and become your input shaft. The shaft on the outside here is what's going to drive the oil pump, which is this dark colored assembly over here. At the bottom here, you'll see this is the pinion gear for the front differential that was sitting here on the bell housing. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and start removing all these 12mm. These are not 12s, these are like 10s, bro. Pull off this housing here. So inside this shaft there's this little collar here, and this is actually what drives the pump. You can see it's got these two forks here that sit on this internal gear over here, and then the pump is going to therefore rotate, and as it rotates eccentrically, you can see how fluid is going to be pushed in, squeezed in through the middle of these gears, and then squeezed back out through the other side, just like that. Just like the oil pump in some cars. Alright, next up we have this pinion here that I'm going to remove with all these 14s. And a bunch more 14s over here. Now this one's got a Torx as a security fastener. I don't know why. Another spline. Got another spline on here. So I'm going to go ahead and fire off the 12 point. No! It looks like this face is actually removable from this transmission. So I'll remove all these 14s. Now there's one more Torx fastener on here. This is a T50. Yeah! Pull this thing out here. And it pops the whole prop shaft out from the back to the front. It's nice that it's all integrated into the transmission. So check out the double seal that you have here. That side's going to have transmission fluid, and this side's going to have the gear oil for the differential. Alright, so it looks like the front of this thing here wants to pop off. It's going to come out with some transmission guts. Alrighty, so it looks like there's probably a planetary gear set inside of here with a set of clutches and this giant ring gear. This looks like another planetary gear set. We've got the planets over here, more planets on the inside, and there's a sun gear in here. No snap rings. We got more stuff coming out here. Another piece. This looks like a set of clutches, and that's a piston in there. Hey, we got the snap ring out. These picks really help. Now I should be able to pull out more stuff. There's like a clutch set is coming out. They're in okay condition, definitely used. Need some spare parts in here. Looks like a spring. Probably need compressed air to take that one out. Well, I've got most of the transmission taken apart here. There's just one more clutch inside of there that's just not worth taking my angle grinder out, cut open the snap ring. Now let's take a look at how the all-wheel drive system works on this car. Here we have the output shaft coming from the transmission, which has already changed the gear ratios. Then we have this counter gear over here, which is going to go to this counter gear, and then the prop shaft, which is going to go to the front differential. Over on the back side here, we have this tail shaft coming out, which is going to connect to the drive shaft going to the rear wheels. So essentially we have the input and two outputs over here which form this differential. Now just like any differential, without any slippage, you can rotate the input shaft, and both output shafts on the front and the rear can rotate at the same speed. This gives you an equal 50-50 split of torque between the two. So let's say the rear wheels start to slow down for whatever reason. You can see that the front wheels, which is this gear right here, is still allowed to rotate and take the power. Similarly, if I slow down the front wheels and rotate this assembly, you'll see that the rear wheels are still allowed to turn. So that allows a speed difference between the two in different situations. Now the reason why you want a center differential in any all-wheel drive car is to allow a speed difference between the front and the rear, and that's to reduce the chances of binding. So let's say your vehicle is taking a turn on dry pavement. Well, the front and rear wheels are going to want to turn at different speeds, and that's going to cause a lot of friction and binding between these two. And that's where this center differential allows for the difference in speeds between these two. Otherwise, you're going to break some driveline component like a drive shaft, a U-joint, or whatever center differential setup you have. Now there are some situations where having that 50-50 torque split locked together is actually advantageous. For example, let's say you're going for a midnight snack in a snowstorm. Well, if you lock these together, the wheels are going to tend to slip and take up that binding, but you're going to guarantee that all the wheels are getting good power. And that's where this system is unique, because inside of here, which is inside of the housing, we have this set of clutches, and we have this piston which is going to activate the two. You see this piston sits inside of this housing over here, and when hydraulic fluid is applied behind it, it's going to pop out a little bit, and that hydraulic fluid usually goes in through here, which is directed from the valve body, which in turn is computer controlled. Now looking a little closer, you'll see that this ring, which is the planet carrier, is tied to the front wheels, whereas the rear wheels are tied to the sun gear inside of this system over here. Here's the sun gear that sits in there. Now inside of here is where this clutch resides. It's made of bands and clutches. The bands here have the teeth on the outside, which are going to spline to the front wheels. And then these clutches here have the teeth on the inside, which are going to be splined to the rear wheels. So normally these bands and clutches are just going to be floating around in fluid here, not applied. And then you could have that differential between the two. But let's say the computer decides that the conditions are right and you want to apply this clutch. It's going to send hydraulic pressure to this piston over here, which in turn is going to push this and squish it together tight. So now your inside teeth, which is the rear wheels, are locked to the outside teeth, which are the front wheels, and you have that even 50-50 lock. Now obviously you shouldn't leave these clutches locked up all the time, and that's because if there is any binding in the system, it's going to take the toll on these clutches, which is one of the weaker links, and start burning them out. Now some all-wheel drive systems have torque split bias through gearing, and that's done by the gearing inside of here as well as at the differential in order to increase torque. Say if you want a front bias like in a regular Impreza or something, or the WRX would have a rear bias, which means that you'd have a little bit less understeer, more sport oriented handling, so you can make it to your local takeover and show the VQ boys how it's done. So just a quick diagram of how the system is set up here. At the front we've got the engine, and then that powers the transmission over here in yellow, which is going to change the gears, and then that's going to power the center differential. That center differential is of course then going to feed the rear differential as well as split off and feed the front differential for the all-wheel drive. Now where most Subarus vary is in the center differential over here. In most manual transmission Subarus we have a viscous coupling, which gives you that even 50-50 split. Now in most CVT Subarus you got a multi-plate clutch that sits inside of here, and that gives you more of a front bias. Now in this 5-speed automatic we do have a center differential which has a planetary gear set as well as this all-wheel drive clutch, which will allow you to lock up the rear and front wheels together. And then finally in Subaru's STI models we have a limited slip differential in the middle here, which is going to obviously limit the slip between the two but give you more of a rear bias for those sport oriented vehicles. Now there is a snap ring holding this mechanism together. I'm not sure if I can get that out. Put the snap ring out. This thing feels like paper. Oh wow, all the little pinions are coming out for the planets. There we go, and little planets. And we can take out the output shaft from the transmission. It's got that sun gear on it, and the planet carrier. So here's basically an exploded view. We've got our little planet carriers here, and it's got these little needle bearings and the studs that they ride inside of this planet carrier. Now this planet carrier, you can see, has this gear that's pressed on it for the front wheel. And then it's interesting that both the input shaft and the output shaft both have sun gears on them, and they're not actually using a ring gear like a full-on planetary style. They're just using the step-down style of planet gear instead. And I don't know, I look at all these gears and I see there's going to be a lot of friction between these two. Why do they have so many of these? Now the front differential in this Subaru is just an open differential. I do have another video on how differentials work if you want to check that out. But essentially you have the large ring gear over here driven by the pinion, and that's going to allow a torque split between the two and also a speed difference between the two when you're taking corners without any binding. Now the two axles are going to plug in on the sides over here, and that's going to directly power the front wheels. Now the only thing with Subarus is that all of the engine is basically ahead of that bell housing, which means that you got a lot of weight ahead of this front axle. With other longitudinally mounted vehicles, it's a lot better for weight distribution. I also find it pretty cool that they have a dipstick. Usually you just fill them up until they spill out. Of course, the other disadvantage is trying to keep gear oil out of the transmission oil, as we mentioned earlier with that double seal. Alright, so here's the rest of the transmission that actually changes the gears, all torn down here. Now I've taken apart automatic transmissions and shown you how it works in other videos, so you can check those out for reference. So in this case, I'm just going to quickly take it apart to assess the condition. You can see this here is your input shaft. And if you remember from the all-wheel drive side, this would be your output shaft, which is actually splined to the inside of this guy. And essentially all of these parts here are sort of like nestled together. And then you got planetary gear sets with the little planet carriers, the rings, and the sun gear, and clutches. Alrighty, so let's say for example I take apart this little clutch setup over here. Looking inside of here, you can see these little holes here are where the hydraulic fluid are going to go into the clutches in order to activate them. And they have these little rubber O-rings over here, and that's to keep the hydraulic pressure away from each other. All of that hydraulic pressure is controlled by the valve body. Now this part here also has got two sun gears attached to it because it goes into two planetary gear assemblies inside of here. Just pop the snap ring off, pop those out, and here you can see the piston. So how this works is you can see those little holes inside of there that corresponds to the holes on the shaft here. That fluid inside of there is pressurized, and that's going to pop this piston out towards that snap ring. And that's going to engage these clutches to squish together. Looking at these clutches here, these are actually in pretty good condition. Alright, let's see what's inside this giant barrel. Okay, here we have a planet carrier, and looks like there's another planet carrier nestled inside of here. And there's a ring gear in here. Just pull this off here. And you can see there's a sun gear over here. And looks like that sun gear actually has this spline on it, which is going to be splined to the housing over here with a clutch. Alright, it's getting dark once again. The stupid daylight saving. But eventually I was able to get the snap ring off. There's a planet carrier. We have a ring gear. Alright, I got that cage off. And there's another set of clutches in here again. And then take off that snap ring. Pull up this set of clutches. Oh, these clutches look pretty good. Got a little bit of darkness on them. That's basically a giant piston for those clutches. And that's from the input shaft side. And continue along here, you can see here's another set of clutches. This was kind of nestled around that set over there. This has a piston on the inside. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that snap ring. There we go. This one's also in good shape too. And then there was the final set at the back here. These have a slight more bit of brown to them, but they're still in pretty good shape. Now the last major component here is this valve body. On the top here you can see the transmission control module, which is in turn going to power these solenoids. Now these shift solenoids are going to then direct fluid inside of this valve body and then into the casing to lock up the appropriate clutches. And there's also a manual valve here which is going to move in and out when you select the lever. The T30s all the way around that holds the solenoids on. And these just pop off. These are basically on-off solenoids that redirect fluid pressure. Now there are shift kits available that you can rebuild this entire valve body with new shims, new solenoids, and a lot of new parts so that you can get better shift improvement, especially for those of you who are turbocharged and want to boost it a little bit. And here's the transmission controller. And here you can see the ports underneath here for all the solenoids. I'm going to flip this over. Starting to get a mess. So I got my brother's old sock here, my professional wooden studio here. Lift that off. See, it's like a maze in there. There's a bunch of these little check balls and these little filters. And of course, when your transmission fails, these filters tend to clog up first. And when you take this apart, you got to watch these check balls go back in the correct spot. Let's see if I can take off this shim here. And you can see the next layer. Just pop that one off. So basically, there's 3 layers with 2 shims. Take a look at how the valve body works. You can see it's basically a giant maze for all the hydraulic fluid to flow. And if you look closely, you'll see there's these little cylinders here. Those are actually valves. And depending on how much hydraulic pressure you apply to the one side using those solenoids, it's going to push this way and redirect fluid flow to another part of the maze, which in turn is going to change the clutch settings inside of the transmission. And boy, this does look pretty complicated at first, so shout out to whoever designs these. These are pretty cool. Now if you're like me, you're probably wondering where the symmetrical part of Subaru's all-wheel drive system comes in, and that basically starts here in this cross section. You can see now the front of the vehicle, you have the boxer engine, which is symmetrical because it's horizontally opposed. It's going to attach through to this input shaft, which is then going to go into the transmission at the back here. Now the transmission is going to have a tail shaft which goes directly down to the rear wheels. We've also got the prop shaft, which is going to come to the front wheels here and power this front differential. And if you notice, this front differential center line is exactly in the same center line as the input shaft, which means that it's in the middle of the vehicle. That also means that you're going to have equal length axle shafts, which is going to reduce things like torque steer or pulling to one side under acceleration. You see, like in a front wheel drive biased vehicle, the transmission is actually off to the driver's side, which means that that's where the differential is, and you got a long shaft that runs over to the passenger side to power that front wheel. Likewise, in a rear wheel drive vehicle, you're going to have the entire bell housing and transmission come to the center point, but for the all-wheel drive side, you're going to have to put a prop shaft off center and then install a differential on the side of the engine, for example, and then you're still going to have unequal length shaft. With this setup, you have all 4 wheels driven symmetrically down the center of the vehicle. I've already got another video on how open differentials works. If you want, you can check that out. However, the rear differential from the Subaru Outback is a limited slip differential, so make sure you stay tuned for a video on that. And that's a look inside of the Subaru all-wheel drive system and its transmission and how it works. So the next time you start up your Subaru on a winter snowy day, make sure you think of all these components that make it work. Make sure you subscribe if you want to see more videos just like this one.